in communication, line settings, high line rotations, coming out line setter. Communication is extremely important. I'll tell you why. When you reach a higher frequency settings, it measures you in scale. Now, when you come into scales, you have to learn how to balance these things out. So, what I mean is that if I set up a thought in communication of frame and a visionary cortex stream, what I'm doing is that I'm sending a signal out. Now, if I want in direct location, it could be the computer, it could be the phone, it could be anything through digital, my digital pad. What it's gonna do is it's gonna try to find its balance, okay, to your frequency. And that's where it comes into its advertisement. And that's how you see these things, right? So it's picking up your visual settings, right? So today in class, we're gonna get in positions to all levels, past 0 to 50 to 50 to 60. Now, you guys are already connected to your timelines, but this is more communications where you have to really come into communication, talk fast and light, enter interference, location, business location, direction. Really get into position talking faster. Talking faster gets you in a better balanced line. Yeah, you don't always have to talk fast, but it's good to talk fast. So you understand how to do both. You can't fluctuate high until you understand how to go low. You can't fluctuate low until you understand to go medium, right? So it's like, so it's a frequency that holds its pattern because everything is all sound. You have to learn how to use your position line settings, and that's where we're coming in. Your Corrado, your communications, right? So you have to understand your timelines first. To understand your timeline is to understand the 50 track locations, which is your zero gravity settings, which comes into your operation cycle. So everything that you're given is a trigger, right? The platted visual location is to understand your tracker settings, right? Each tracker setting has 114 tracker locations into one position. So it's all in its relations of you through perception. It's you. It's all volumes of formation alliance of you. Okay, each chakra has 114 DNA line setting, all right, into your 12 DNA location. Okay, but the 12 is just the foundations, right? That's basically understanding getting into bioscan. And when you go to higher levels, you're crisscrossing, right? So it's more fun when you actually see more and more, right? Through acceleration line setting. It's very powerful when you come into all communications, right? So try to have fun with your position, your thetas, your communications to your throw patterns. 6 over line or 7 over 6. Remember that story, communication 6, 8, 7, 7, 8, 9, but 7, 8, 9, but 9, 8, 10. But 10 wasn't in position location directions, but 11 was in channel of the universal line connection. 12 is line center of the country communication setting. So what you're doing is you're adding story of electrical line connection, right? So today in class, we're going to get into 50 to 60. Okay, we're going to go through that process, and then we go through another test. But I want you guys to get into your muscle memory calculation setting, right? Muscle is a reflexology setting. It's a rotor. Okay, it's a router. It's a calculations to a catalyst to its catapult. You have to truly understand how the brain frequency patterns positions your direct locations to alpha wave, right? To delta, right? To theta, right? To beta, okay? To omega, all right? So you really have to understand the position line directions. So it's kind of like when you get the tortoise to the rabbit when they're in a race and you got two lines and then it's position locations, right? So one goes up, right? So another goes up. So it's rhythm patterns, right? It's frequency tone settings, right? So it's really interesting if you look at your brain function. If you plug yourself in, you can actually see the coloration. So when you change your electrical line settings or electrical system, it's going up. All right. And even if you don't do anything, even if you don't have anything in your mind line setting, it's still moving. You understand? It's still moving because the mind is always open through space. Okay. So even if you don't create a thought, it's still moving. Okay, it's just at a lower frequency line. So you really have to understand the alpha channels, the delta communication system, the beta line settings, the omega channel operation settings, and everything through theta box location. The theta box is position and arc line setting. It's a box line setting in position of 4-point locations. Antenna, position line directions, 3 channel operation streams, past, present, future, 3 lacing lines. Really get into your information line, right? It's confusing, right? So it looks like I'm just doing this, but what I'm doing is this and this crossing over. But when I go fast, it just looks like I'm going like this. So you have to really understand the conception line of what's going on through electrical communication of your wires and how fast you're going through position line directions, because everything is a motional sensor. The sensory communication line center and high line rotation interference position locations are levels. Setting locations are radio signals, gamma interference locations are levels. Radiation cycles, high center generation light streams, high position location calculation, high line rotation. It's all levels of your telecommunication operation, high settings. Operation line setting, perception location calculations. So try to have fun with that line setting, okay? So in that position location, the electrical board is a visionary cortex stream, and that communications to all levels of your channel operator streamlines, okay? So if you just stand still, okay, everybody stand still. You hear the vibration? You hear that? 144,000 line, 120,000 line, 110, 100,000 line communication setting. You're going to feel the vibration. You're going to see the vibration. You're going to hear the vibration. You're going to know the vibration. You're going to taste the vibration. You're going to understand the coloration of the vibrations. You really have to understand your sensory line settings. So to have more fun with it is to understand the electrical line condition and what's attached to a system. It's all provision, location, and calculation setting. So even if you're standing still, you're still moving very fast. Okay. So this is why it's so important when you are communicating thoughts, because now you're going to all line setting. Okay. In that position locations, you're going through alpha, delta, theta, beta, omega, all calculations to one thought signal. Okay. So this is what it looks like line setting. So it's like a race. These are called racing patterns, high center generation light streams, high line rotation interference. Now your calculate streamline sets line position location as 0 to 50, but what you don't understand is 50 to 60. Okay. So we go 0 line rotation, line position locations into levels of 50. 50 line center, line position of 60, 60 line centers. Okay, so we go from 0. So we go into a triangulation of 3 lines. Okay. So we come into position location 2, its line condition of its flux capacitor. You look locations, line center, all position location, crop circle, right? Mechanism, line center, and line rotation interference, higher position locations, all levels of zigzag, zoom, and line rotations in position. Okay. So this is what you can do with 0 and 50, right? Through next 2,000 line to all calculations, right? Come in tither, communicate with line settings, right? Downshift line, signal line inner rotation, right? Try to use all positions of a grass string line setting into one position of one board setting, okay? Because that's all life consists on, right? Is all you having fun as the inner child setting. So the higher we go, the more we come into the inner child, right? So in that position location, Jill's going to love this. Jill's going to get a lot more information line condition, understand more of her inner child because it's higher levels of development, what she already knows. So it's going to be a lot more easier to understand these positions because that's her foundations to that connection system. You really, really have to understand the inner child, especially at higher levels, because that's what you're reaching. Higher levels of you as a child, okay? My conceptual location is a thought line setting, but you have to truly understand the seconds, minutes of the hour, day, position line, track line settings, because you're in its relation to its position of its ratios and proportions of longitude and latitude to your clocking setting in line rotations. Each tracker system has to be in 12, 24, 48, 72, and 144 in position line directions in clocking setting. That's the only way you're going to understand anything for that setting. Okay. So as we go into 0, 1 line setting, track interference, box position over triangle, 3 line positions into 6, 7, 8 line center location of 9, Let's put 12 in center calculation. 12 comes out, line center rotations, sets communications into a galactic cloud stream, set line rotation. Okay, so what I just finished doing is a formula. What I just finished doing is a storyboard. This is electrical line setting. So Trinity stand as 0 line setting locations in position locations of 6, 7, 8 line center locations, 9 line center line rotations at 3, 0 line position of 1, box line position, zip, zap, zoom, and position location 2, its galactic surface line channel. Operations 6 position locations into 12 line signals. Okay? So it's a lot more fun if you get into yourself to really understand, because it's coming into higher levels of deeper levels of you as an inner child, because you're reaching higher levels of capacity in your set lines in your chakra settings. Okay, flow and direction of timelines, set lines, and 0 line rotation and position location of 50 channels, operation signals, high channel upper string lines, open all calculation stream interference, sets position location of track line conditions in the line setting. Okay, it's amazing what I just finished doing through trial locations. Electrical lights, umbrella communication, ether line channels, 1, 2, 3, 4 line positions. All right, sonar communication line settings into intelligence setting, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 division line settings and rotation. Moon comes in line setting, sun's in reproduction setting, center communication, triangulation setting, in line rotation, line rotation, line rotation, line rotation, triangulation. Setting position location of 0 to 50 communication settings. All right, so let's start. Now, you already know the 0 to 50, but I want you to understand how to use your muscle memories, because this is all calculation, how you use your position location directions. All right. So in position, we start with 50. Okay, so what is 50 line setting? Go into line communication. So let's go into 50. In line setting, we'll go into split into one position. All right, we start there. 5 and then 1, not 51, because you guys aren't ready. So you have to understand the pedal defense line. 50 is timeline, right? So this is VAS equals line condition of timeline. Okay. Now, in that line center, it lines its rotation position of 1. 1 signals its line center, line position of 0, 1 track location. All right. Now, once it comes into 0 line 1, it position location of 1, 0, 0, 0, 1 calculation. All right. So once it comes into that line center, you come into opposition location to its teleportation, into its energy line setting, into all systematic line conditions, to its teleport line setting in telecommunications system. Test. So test is all this in a line setting, in a rotation setting. Okay. So now you understand the importance of breaking these things down in position, location, and calculation streamlines. All right. It's going to get more fun now, right? But more complicated. All right. So 50 line setting, equal line conditions of 51. So 51. So we all already know what 50 is. Timeline. Okay. Bracket line center operation. Okay. Operation setting. Okay. Now 51 is basically, we already know, use the 12 foundation line streams, set 12 line signals, high line centers, and position locations. You can circle this calculation setting. Put it aside. When you guys are going in your test, you can write these things down. Always use 12 as a reference, because you're reaching higher line settings, right? Your digital frames are coming into high lines at digital frame line position of 2 line position location and 3 line channels. You have to learn how to use communication setting and position location of corporations. All right, so setting line communications, 51 line setting. So it's timeline in location equals grounds. Pretty simple, right? Timeline equals grounds. It's 51, right? So that signals its line setting. Now it's all connected to the term reactor line division locations. It opens all channel operations streamlines. But as long as you understand, 50 is easy because it's all timeline, timeline, timeline until you get to 60, right? 52, okay, is position line setting to all calculations. Always split it in the center calculations, right? Really recognize the 5 and the 0 before it becomes 50, 51 or 52, okay? Especially when you come into scan, bioscan calculations, got to get that team in that line setting. You know exactly what you do in position, location, directions. Our line calculations, equal line condition of security, okay? Now, when you get into security and you're at a 50 line center, it's over factor. It's going to get a lot more complicated, right? So over, okay, factor. Okay, security over factor, it's 52. All right, because what that is that you're setting up security lines and already in the future communication settings. So if you come back in division line conditions, it's already set in line perimeter. Okay, so 53 is communication line setting into timelines. Okay, make sure you write these down. I need you guys to get it into position line, all levels of your muscle memories. Okay, so it's timelines into a Fibonacci rotation. Fibonacci equals line center rotations. All right, that's 53. Okay, you're rotating your spin cycles. All right, you're high reaching your high settings. Okay, 54 set calculation setting is what? Again, timelines. So 50 is going to be easy until you get to 60. All right, so simplifies its line communication system, but always use 12 as a reference. Okay. All right, so timelines, equal line condition, line center interference, solid generation, light stream, and line rotation. But this is where it gets interesting. Once you come into 55, you come into polarity, paradox, paradigm, polar shift, pulsar. You understand? So 54 line centers is timelines equals pulsar. This really gets into locations. All right. Channel line settings, timeline rotations, 54. All right. Timelines of pulsar, 55. Okay. Position line directions. Okay. Coming in line center locations into past, present, and future. That's 55. Past, present, future. Right. So you can go into time equals past, present, future. Okay. That's 55. All right. 656. Now, once you understand the set lines, you're coming to a higher communication setting. Once you reach 60, everything comes into moon operation setting. So what you're doing is you're changing your timelines and you're splitting each line in communication settings. Right? You start with fives and you start locations. Right? You split it down. Write down line center. Always use 12 as a reference. Remember that. I'm going to keep going that over and over and over and over until you understand what's going on position, location, directions. All right. So that's timelines. Okay. So it's timelines equals, now you calculate the line center interference. You can water containment system, but it's in position locations, all levels, high settings into your position locations, into your emotional. Okay. So it's an equalizer line setting in that direct locations, right? It's coming into your ecosystem. Okay. Your ecosystem is position locations, your energies, your collaborations, your communication system of operation, all levels of your compartment locations, your throw patterns. All right, so we're going to 57 line. Okay, so 57, we already know 5 is timelines, remember? So 7 line center is a theta box, set line communication system, right? So 57 is video screen. Okay, timelines a video screen. Okay, timelines equals video screen. Okay, video screen, right? Coming line center location TV reception. 58. Okay, so timelines of infinity of cycle interference. Timelines of infinity of cycle interference. It's going to get a lot more interesting. All right. So 59, you're obviously going to have to watch this back. 59 is what? It's set locations, right? All you have to remember is calculation of what 5 is, what 3 is, what 2 is, what 1 is, what 0 is, right? It gets easier, but more complicated. Complicated is good because now you're reaching higher line communication setting to a lot of position locations, and you come into levels and position electrical line conditions, storyboard interference location, position location, double rotation, light stream. So 59 line setting, the high line rotation interference location. You already know that 9 is the solar star chakra, right? Energy wash, rainbow wash. Okay. So this comes into all line set locations of electrical line wash. Okay. Electrical line wash, timelines of electrical line wash. This is a line-to-line interference where it puts an energy wash over line position, a factor over position location to your wires. You can have your wires cleaned, not just your chakra settings. But the position of direct location is placing the old with the new line setting. Okay. Now we come into 60, moon of operation. Hooah. 50 to 60. There you go. Screenshot that. Okay. 60, we'll stop there. All right, in calculation streamlines, now you understand 50 to 60. Now you're gonna have to watch this over and over and over and over until you stand line setting. So you guys are like, less than half lines. You have to get into 75,000 line channels, operate streamline and rotation interference. 114 is just the beginning line setting. Then go back down again. in the correlation line interference. And then you start recognizing your letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols. What you have to do in calculation setting, high line center rotation interference, location calculation, streamline and rotation, is direct line setting. 6 position of 5, line position, location of 4, 3 line setting. Okay, so there's a strip line, matrix line communication setting. Then you come into a box, then you come into a triangle, then you come into a question mark, then you come into line centers of M and communication system, then you come into operation setting. Okay, so you do another panel communication setting. So what you're doing is you're creating an algorithm to each target setting. All right. So in that position location, 3 weather patterns, line center, line interference, in that direct locations. All right. 3 one-line settings in that rotation interference. So it's going really, really fast. Recognize the timelines, change position of panel communication setting, 3-line setting and circle locations. All right. So in that position locations, we come into infinity 8 line, calculation streamline, and that rotation interference. So what you're doing is you're creating a matrix communication of a data stream in your provider line center to all position location and calculation settings. All right. This opens all communication settings and interference. All right. So in that line rotations, we come into 10 line setting into 1000 location. All right. So you truly have to understand how to use this in all ways and forms. How 7 comes into the box line through weather patterns into 3-1 positions into triangulation, 6 into 5-line settings in 2 position, 2 line centers, infinity 8-line setting. Okay, so we go in 8 in position of 10, 10 position of metric in position of 4, 4-line center of 5, 5 position locations, in position line 3, 3 lines operation, position of 10, 1000-line communication, and all generation lights of a data stream, and 3 lines, 4-line communication settings. Okay? So that's what you're doing, is you're trying to understand what your tracker system is, because it's all position locations of this. Okay, trace line, right? Center calculation, solar graph line center, solar graph interference. Set communications into your tesseract tetrahedron calculation streamlines. It's more complicated what it is in position line directions. You're always in the center communication setting, but you have to understand the second line settings. You bring the seconds in position. Seconds equals line connections a month, and center line positions into its calculations of its hour. Okay. So bringing the seconds forward, you're into 0 equal line conditions into 9. 9 equals line conditions into box line position of triangle. So box becomes triangle, triangle becomes box, a male and the female line setting, and 0 gravity interference, position of 9, 9 position equal line conditions into box line triangle, triangle to box. So what you get in your seconds lines, you get in your timelines, frequency settings. This is an oval communication setting into all relation setting locations. You set in the center location in division locations, opens all channel operators streamlines. This through all calculations. Ground line setting and rotations, solar generation light streams high setting, and position locations, 3 weather patterns and electrical light connections, right? Channels operate streamlines and 3 patterns in position of ground settings. Okay, so it's to understand how things are set up in so much line setting. All right, tube setting, line position setting. Okay, orb setting comes into all levels of calculations to another orb setting, into another orb setting. See how it gets smaller and smaller? XT1000 comes in, position, scans line settings, picks you up, teleportation line stream. Okay. So there's a lot of ways to use your tracker line settings. You have to get into your visionary lines, but I really want you to understand. So I'm going to put you guys in electrical board setting. Okay. Foundation over graph streams, Y line centers, equal line center, flux passive communication system. Get them into voice channel operator streamlines, rhythm patterns, calculation, teleportation line settings, teleportation streamlines, and teleportation communications. All levels of track line setting. All position locations, officially in position line avatar line settings. Getting communication to 7th dimension, 8th dimension, 9th dimension, 10th dimension, and 11th dimension line streams. 20 minutes on the clock. Have fun. All right, set calculation streamlines. Now you understand all line position locations, not just 0 to 50, but now you understand 0 to 60. We stop there, right? Until you understand all timelines, okay, of the compulsory, pulsars, polarity, paradigm, polar shift, right? So you have to really recognize these line settings, all right? This is the multitude levels of communication of multi-layers, calculation of dimensional line center, intergalactic line center, interdimensional locations, and position directions. Truly understand the metaphysical line connections to the mental capacity setting that sets its tone in business locations to your physical, emotional, spiritual, and calculation setting. It's the psychological interface in position locations to each chakra's locations. All right. All right. Yes, it is. Now's the time to get down to business. Very high rise, guys. I told you. Pay attention. Max. Okay, Max, when you're ready to get to higher lines to higher communication system, we had the test. Let me know. DM me. Gypsy. A level 6 location. Tara. Tara position of Dawn. Dawn position of scales. Tina calculation setting. Position line directions. Tina, I need your test. Instead of location of 050 when you have a chance, please. Thank you. I have position locations all Laura, Lori, Lauren. Let's see, position there better. Calculation of Trinity, position of Cindy, same like Janelle. Johnny, and position location Geneva, Alchemy. Hey, Alchemy, how you doing? All right. So, Alchemy, what's going on right now is you're trying to understand how to travel through your chakra setting line interference. This is very, very, very high rise. I don't expect you to understand it, but what I want you to understand is how to travel the communication system, all levels of vibration. Your vibrational body is electrical line setting. It sets all electrical code system locations and magnetic line setting, high interference specifications, all levels of magnetic fields, setting communication system line directions. All right, Michaela, set line communication settings, all levels of Jill position locations, high center interference, line position locations, Heather line communication line interference. All right, AJ calculation streams. Let's see here, Guardian, Johnny. All right, harmonics. Yeah, you get into all communications, not just the energy, vibration, frequencies. Now you guys are finally coming into the harmonics of cycle interface. All right. So it's amazing how we come. Hey, Zara! Welcome, Zara. It's great to see Zara. All right, so everybody's having a lot of fun. Today's structures. So the more you recognize settings, guys, you have to really understand how to use the moon operation of you. This is all level calculations of Mother Earth, Mother sequence, Mother pattern, Mother rotation, Mother cycles, high center interference, Mother craft circles, Mother gravitational pull, Mother grounds, Mother operation, Mother Earth, and so many calculations, high setting. Okay. So this is where we finally come into Mother Earth of 60 rotation. First time. Chakra setting location, your constellation path lines. So we're going to start there in that line rotations, and we're going to stop there in position line setting. So I really want you guys to get into formation locations, right? When you go live on TikTok, I want you to really get into your voice patterns in that position line directions, right? Like get in position locations of general operation, string line interference location, calculation line center, y interference location, unified line center, intelligent positional 8 positional graph line center location of 0 line 1 interference location 6 positional 5 positional 4 operation string line interference communication offsetting. Put all levels of hemisphere line in rotations back in one line center rotation escape in positional control line center shift positional control space bar division locations x y line center line rotation interference line connections. You have to learn how to volume higher. To understand higher is understand your voice higher. Your voice has to change. The harmonic line setting has to change. Your vibrational graph has to change. All levels of emotional locations. All right, so got channel line position. Channel line position. Okay, channel line position. All right, there's 3 track line settings, right? So this is a brain frequency pattern location to your setting. All right, this is grounding, one position of security line position. 0, 1, 2. 3 line settings, 3 vibrational graphs. All right. So in position line setting, this is 0, this is 1, and this is 2. You guys have to recognize your vibrational graphs now. All 3 line position location into triangulation. Triangulation sets line centers and high line rotation interference. So the triangulation can change in line center rotations anywhere it wants to go in the calculations. 3 track line settings and high line center interference. There you go. Timestamp, time speeding, high center location, acceleration line streams, and high line rotation all levels into 0, 1, 2 in track location. All through vibrational graphs of streamline settings. So why is it so important to stand? Because when you're standing still, you're moving extremely fast. So imagine how faster you're going when you're creating thoughts. And where are your thoughts going? In your direction locations, right? North, west, south, and east. East, west, south, and north, right? So once you get into this pattern, you come into higher line setting. You come in higher line setting, you come into position of space, From here to here is time. All right. From there to there. How long did it get you? Position line time equals line condition of mass. Inline center location, equal center locations of energy. That comes into back force line center, E equals mc squared. Always use E equals mc squared as a foundation, and always use your foundation location of your 12 DNA. Okay. Process of communication settings. Okay. All right. 50 timelines of video graph screen, 58 timelines infinity of cycles interface, 59 timelines electronic line wash, 60 moon. Very good, Jill. Excellent. All right. So this is what we're coming into, guys. A lot more understanding coming into first line communications of Mother Earth. So the constellation line setting is all position, location, and directions. Tree to stand that lines. All right, so 30 line interference will wait till you guys get to 10 position line direct. Setting communication. Bring you guys back. And one line setting, overlap center, interference location, track line setting into negative over wire, wire positive, positive over line positions, factor over pi. All right, so getting a lot more complicated, right? Trying to understand how to use this in all ways and forms. Who said this was going to be easy, right? To understand easy is to understand comfort. To understand comfort is to understand comfortability. So once you get more in position, location, directions, the more you channel higher, the more you talk faster. You really get into that because your computer for your voice. And if the computer understands your voice, you're going to see a video screen into that position of your video line setting that you set up through your image. So whatever you project through your image is going to show on your connections of your computer. And that's how you get balance of frequency of communication setting to one position to ground setting. So 60 in a moon rising rotation. Yeah. 1 is grounds, 2 is security, 4 is solar graph, 3 is sacral. Yep. Basic understanding of that position line directions. But I want you to understand how to use the electrical board. It's a visionary line setting. So set locations. So let's go into 50 channels. It's 50 channels, right? 50 equals line position of box. So 50 comes into here. 50 sets line centers in box. Okay, so 50 equal line centers of 50 in position directions, right? So that's 50 channels of operations into alpha, delta, theta, beta, and omega. Sets line communication, travel line settings, into all line setting, and rotation. Travels anywhere in calculation strings. Okay? So it's a lot more fun when you understand how to use the number sequence patterns. So if I'm taking 50 line setting, I always have to split it. Okay, because 5 line center location is its heart, right? 0 line center location, you can bracket as spherence, is all level position location of 0 equals line's location of operation. Okay? It's pretty simple, isn't it? You know, it's just trying to understand what you're doing all through provision. Now you have to really understand these things because your chakra systems are waiting for you to understand your voice and grid line settings. Once you understand the imagination to its phenomenon, the phenomenon opens all positions to your harmonic line settings. I couldn't get you guys into harmonics until you understand your 0 of 50 now, because your position location started off with all position to its stargates. Now we're in starlinks. Okay. You have to understand these things. 50 track line centers, 40 line rotation. So it's a 50 track line setting. What is that 40 position line directions? Solar generation light. If a Fibonacci is of a 3 line setting, see, Fibonacci is the same as 3. Fibonacci equals line conditions of 3, right? 3 equal line conditions of Fibonacci. See, you put that together, you got position locations in line sign locations of double equal line conditions of helix. Hoo-ah. Right? So that's double line setting and 2 line rotation interference of helix line center locations in position of H connections to O. Okay? That's H2O. So it's interesting when you look at these line connections. So it's a Fibonacci swirls, Fibonacci rotation, Fibonacci sequence, Fibonacci pattern, Fibonacci line setting, Fibonacci all over calibration to operation setting, right? But if it's in 3-line setting, it's in position of balance and calculations, equal line conditions, boxes, line position, triangulation, high setting, and circle line connection, all through 3-3, right? So this is where it gets more interesting because now you're boxing, you're trifactoring, your calculated settings, your in position locations to your abundance lines is all always a trifactor, right? Trifactor is extremely powerful when you understand how to use your tracker system and balance of rotation, okay? Balance rotation line setting. So inline rotation interference, you set locations. This is you, okay? And you got this all line position locations of this bubble, okay? And you're going, what am I going to create? All right, so line creations, high center interference, 7. 7 equals box, okay? Rotation center. Now 7 line center locations is theta. Theta calculation setting, all right? So set communication line centers, position location lines over a factor. Factor is line conditions into umbrella, okay? The umbrella comes into line center. Let's go into oppositions into all line center to Y in flux capacitor. Sets position location into ground setting, okay? So this is a formula, line center locations, created through all line centers of in that direction, okay? So it's a lot more fun when you really understand the frame of the electrical line center, which is all connected to electrical board. Each tracker system has 1 second frame line, 1 second frame line in a 24 sequence pattern in your line center location at 7 days a week. And you have to learn how to use this in position of line direction, okay? Now it's getting really, really complicated, right? But a lot more fun, right? So now we're coming into higher levels of formulations of equation of E equals MC squared, okay? E equals MC square line setting, all right? So the energy line centers, line center, line interference, equal line conditions, now position locations of its diamond core setting, right? Diamond core setting lines position locations into 2 track locations. Mass over line center locations slits its center line rotations into its communication setting, line and rotation in positions to its line of its flux capacitor. So this is all levels of calculation streamlines. You have to really understand how to use your throw pattern in so many lines because you have 5 line settings into 3 communications. So you have 8 senses in your 8 infinity line rotation. 8 equal line center location into theta. Now what is theta line center? So all levels umbrella communication. Theta is communication of 7 line position locations in the box location into position line direction. All right. So you just have to have fun with what you're doing with your numbers now. Because numbers are coming frames, a visionary line, and electrical line connection was all electrical board system. Your space anomaly is already set in calculation settings. You truly have to understand how to use the atmosphere line conditions. If you're an atmosphere line, atmospheric conditions of atom line center rotation setting, and position location calculations, equal line conditions of theta, theta communication is triangulation line center, equal line conditions of levels, E line center location of its equation. Now, the equation line center comes into Fibonacci swirl line center, equal line conditions of 3, 3 line position location of 3, center line communication of double helix in position locations. Turn on for streamlines in set location. Ooh, ah. So everything is travel. Everything is calculations of travel. Everything is sequence locations, pattern calculations, string theory line setting. Okay. So we're coming into that line rotation interference. The theatrical line center location is its position of direction location in the Y line setting. Y equals flux capacitor. So there's a lot of things that's going in line setting in your line rotations. So Y equals flux capacitor. But remember, if you're setting communication over, you got to set up an umbrella. Okay. Now the umbrella sets lines electrical line setting, travel locations, right? Sets communication system. Okay, so there we go. Plasma channel. Plasma channels up in high line rotations. So Y line centers, line rotation in position, equal line conditions of flux capacitor. Flux capacitor comes in equal line conditions in position line centers into theta communication. Hoo-ah. All right. Setting signals and high line rotations. So this is all about understanding how to use your data stream lines into all rotations into form calculations in 12 DNA, tracking interference location and position location directions. Always use your chakra systems of 0 to 12. You start with that communication setting first. And when you're scanning, we're going to go into bioscan line settings from 12 to 0. When you're scanning somebody, it's head to toe, not toe to all positions of head. In calculation line setting, it's this way, not this way. Okay? Make that very well clear. You have to start here because the brain circuit line setting is setting line position of tone setting, setting electrical line rotations. Setting communication system of electrical line interference. Okay, set communication, set line rotation interference, triangle line position location, or box position location calculations. All right, so the scan line center is line center rotations. This is what it does. It scans, goes up and down in calculations. All right, it starts line centers, two-panel communication system, and that's what comes in with Gypsy, what she does. So the scan lines open electrical line and rotation interference, sets position location at 12. 12 line center comes into 11, which is the universal line connections. Set line position of 10, which is the galactic family. Galactic family is an open circle, line center rotation. So you have to understand how to use like snakes and ladders in calculation stream, what goes up and what goes down. So center communication line center location 9. 9 is the surface line position locations when it comes into all levels. Energy wash calculation setting. Okay, energy wash locations into 8. 8 is infinity. Infinity line center of circulation, position locations. You can also use a Fibonacci setting, but you only use a Fibonacci setting until you understand the biokinetic line center locations of you and position line direction. Setting communication line center locations comes into 7. 7 is the theta box setting, box location is setting rotation. All right. Setting communication of 6 line setting is line rotations into your throat pattern, electrical light connections, clarity, high center line interference, and carotio. 7 line position locations, 5 line centers in heart generation lights, in line center rotations. So that's 4 line position of 5, 5 positions of 4, 5 position of 6 in that line center interference. So 5 is always a position of the hearts in calculation when you're doing a bioscan line center. So you can go up and down, up and down, up and down. So it's kind of like go down and then you go back up. You go down, you go back up, and you try to find what is wrong in position location of its biokinetic line setting. So this is what you guys have to do. It's not just you scan first, and then you go back up again, and then you find the positions all levels. So you go to deeper core to electrical line setting. The electrical defense line sets all direct locations to the perimeters and line settings. So you have a circle line setting, rotation interference, position location, another circle line rotation interference, and you got your magnetic highway information line setting in 3 line positions. Okay. So positivity is everything when you come into all line setting location of bioscans. It's a lot more fun when you're staying position location directions. To fix anything in position of direction, you truly have to understand how to do these things. All right. And Gypsy's on her way to understand communication, a master of calculation. So that's what you guys are in line setting. You're all position locations of ascension, unified masters and ascension masters. You guys are all in that line setting. But the first thing you have to recognize is how to scan, bioscan, biograph scan, electrical light scan, ultra scans, meditation line connections of a scan. Meditation, high center line and rotation interference is your connections, how you see your set locations within patterns. It's the metrical light center line and rotations to the intergalactic force channel. The position line directions opens all communications system to your high settings to understand what you do through the biokinetic line, center streaming interference, high inner rotations. So it's the biometrics, high center line, and electrical light settings, high line rotation interference, or wire communication settings. So it gets more complicated again and again and again until you understand the fluctuation line settings to all calculations to its system of its direction. Wow. Right? So body scan is just a basic understanding the set position, the connection of the chakras, the emotional setting. The position of bio is more in wire. The body is more position location of chakras and energies and colorations and lights and emotional setting. You understand? You have to understand the body scan. You have to understand the electrical scan. You have to understand the dimensional, intergalactic, interdimensional. Okay? There's so many levels of scans. Okay? So that's what the team has to get into is bioscan. Get into the electrical system of yourself first. Really get into the scan line settings to know exactly this is offline setting. So you have to understand how to refix this line position. There's electrical line connections. There's a recoil right here. See the knot lines? There's a vibrational gap stream. There's wire line setting that's going up my thumb in line rotations. There's 2 metal plates setting location. The clocking line setting is 1 million channel per second per operation stream. The set line position location is code signal. The setting line connection is barcode. If you look really closely, you can see the flux capacitor. Setting communication settings opens all line centers of trap lines. Trap communication setting is all about releasing communication settings. Okay. The correlation panel sets line position location when you come into 0, 12, right? 0 line center location at 12. Okay. 12 line centers at 11. Now you get in position locations into 10. Now 10 position location 9. Now 9 equals line position of 8. This is what you have to do. You start with 0 equals 12, 11, 10, 9, and then you go basically try to understand the electrical line conditions of laser direct location at 3 panels, lines, or 4 lines, or 5 lines, or 6 lines, or 7. Depending on how the person is. The person is center communication, and that's all you're doing is you're doing a bioscan, right? So that's 7 line settings and 7 location sets here, right? 6 position line centers is a throw pattern, okay? 5 line centers is your heart, okay? 4 line centers is solar generation light stream, okay? 3 line centers your Fibonacci, 2 line centers security, and 1 is your grounds, and circle line rotation and inner rotation calculation. There's a bioscan right there. All 3 graph streams from 7 to 0. So anything higher lines in 12 line position locations, you're coming in position line setting into each line center location of 5 line centers into 12 positions. All right. So it's a totally different bioscan, higher levels of atmosphere. So your central communication, your body line is now out. So now you're not just scanning the ground lines, you're connecting to higher line communication of its hologram structure. So now you're calculating and modifying how you're doing a scan line, division line, rotation, surface line. It's all position location to its center lines settings. Okay. But it's very powerful when you understand communications rotation setting. Okay. To your body line center 7, line connection equals to 5 position 12. All right. So that's what you guys got to get into. Your test is based on bioscan. All right. So we're at 47 lines and 55 seconds and set lines and set locations into 40 line settings of viewers in 14 thumbs up calculation. Setting communications into 1202 and positions all levels. Perception line settings in high line rotation and metric communication setting. To understand the positive you is to understand the correlations of you. To understand the correlation is to understand the vision to its image of what you are intention of. So if I say I send something to line center location of its intention. So that's harmonics on its line setting. It's the thought pattern that sets its location to its system. Okay. So your intention gets stronger, comes in all communication division line center locations. And this is how you set up your electrical board, a defense calculation setting. Okay. So it's a lot more fun when you understand what's going on more and more, right? Yes, it's more complicated, Yolanda, but you're going to understand why, right? Because you're reaching a deeper core of yourself to really understand how you work. It's not what you say, it's how you say it, okay, through vibration. Okay, so really get into that. Keep watching this video, right? Because you have another test coming up. Once we reach 8 line settings, I was on Zoom. And when we get on Zoom, we'll do the same thing all over again. But I want you off book, okay, to muscle memory, okay? That is the importance. All right, so line communication settings. I will see you guys later. Adios.